Welcome back to my channel! So today, this is a part of our Let's Talk series, having somebody over and talk about things that they're passionate about, because within the beauty community, even though we're all passionate for beauty, there are other things that we're also passionate about. There are people who are passionate about cruelty-free brands. There are also those who are passionate about being vegan or other things also that they want to shed some light on. Today we have Jethro here with us. So, what we did in the previous video to get Jethro into the beauty community also was to buy the makeup that you're seeing me wear right now. So, apart from the base, which is the foundation and the concealer, Jethro bought everything from Watson's for 1,000 pesos. So, all the experiences, everything that Jethro went through, the stress, also my stress, will all be documented in that video. So, for today, what we're gonna talk about is Jethro and his advocacies and how it plays into the beauty community also. So, Jethro, what are your affiliations right now when it comes to your different advocacies?
Okay, so apart from being a student, I'm also the chairperson of KAISA UP, one of the university-wide political organizations in UP Diliman. And so, as of recent, what we've been highly involved in was helping workers in various organizations or companies who have been experiencing contractualization, and we have been encouraging stalls within UP Diliman to boycott particular products so as to not support these companies that do contractualize their workers.
So these are the examples of the things that you see, such as hashtag boycott NutriAsia, hashtag boycott JFC or Jollibee, hashtag boycott joke lang. Hindi pa yun sa mga contractual. So maya. Pero I just wanted to insert it there. And hashtag boycott UFC and what's the new one? Boycott OSG. Let's start with, why is contractualization a bad thing for people working within a company?
So contractualization is bad simply because it limits the opportunity of people to be able to fend for themselves economically. So meaning, if you're contractual, the tenure of your work, your security of work is at stake, because once your contract ends, it might not get renewed and you lose a job. In the next video, in a way will be pointed out is that things are becoming more expensive. One of the struggles I had with buying makeup was a very limited budget, and other people that are less privileged than we are, experience that not just with makeup but with things like food, with basic necessities. And so when their jobs are on the line and are not secured, then we might be risking their lives, not just their ability to purchase things that we can let go of given the option.
Yeah, and I think that it also plays with how much they're being paid. It's usually less than what everybody else is paid. It's either minimum wage, which already isn't actually a fair minimum wage, but also there are people, because they're contractual, it's below minimum wage because of the fact that they're not regular employees. Why can hashtag boycott insert company here help contractual employees become regular?
It's because consumer activism does play a role in one end in affecting the way a company operates, but on the other hand, it also helps more people be aware of the issue. So say when we talk about veganism or the choice to be pescatarian, and so those pushes those companies to create products that do not abuse animals. It pushes these companies to veer some things that are towards the interests of consumers, because we do play in part in sustaining their operations.
And sometimes because companies they're worth $1 million pesos or more, they don't listen because they know that they'll still earn money. But if more people boycott, the more reason for them to listen, because they are losing money. What are the things that we are boycotting now?
Okay, so far there's UFC, so they have a huge line of condiments. So that's UFC banana ketchup, Jafran, which they've also obtained, and then Silver Swan. And so that's a very long list of things. The more popular one and more difficult to avoid, I guess, because it's been a part of Filipino culture, is JFC. So they own, of course, Jollibee, Burger King, since they've purchased the franchise in the Philippines.
Greenwich,
Red Ribbon,
Chowking,
Mang Inasal also is there.
So those are the brands that we should avoid. I know it's so hard. I love Jollibee. It used to be on my Instagram, but until they regularize their employees, I have not eaten. It's been like 3 months. I miss you, Chicken Joy and Yum Burger, but I can't eat you until you regularize your employees. You know, it's easy for us people to eat 3 times a day to buy all this makeup that we want, even if we have a limited budget to buy makeup, that still means that we're able to buy wants and not just the needs. But if we take it to their situation, they can't even buy a meal 3 times a day. If you know the term altanghap, do you know that it actually comes from almusal, tanghalian, and hapunan? And some people only eat once a day, and that's their entire meal.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? Oh my gosh!
Know.
And especially if you have children, that's not enough. And how about their schooling and everything? So if these things aren't addressed, you have people who can never get out of that cycle of poverty because they're not offered opportunities. How does inflation play into this whole thing also?
A while ago, Ruod already talked about the effects of contractualization in terms of wages. So since the minimum wage is difficult to adjust, as of now, the minimum wage costs around 500 or a little bit over 500.
Here in Metro Manila, so that means in provinces, it's actually lower.
But the point being that inflation increases prices for basic commodities, so we know that it's true for vegetables, and the additional excise tax on sugar and other commodities. So basically what we're looking at is people with the same purchasing power, so they have the same 1,000 pesos, for example, but they can buy less and less with that 1,000 pesos. Before, they could buy a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. With increasing purchasing power, they'd be forced to do altanghap.
These people already can't buy things that they need throughout the day, and then you have a price increase because of the inflation. I guess it makes the whole situation more unfortunate for them, and the only way that we can help them with that is to help them be heard. The way that we can help them to be heard is to boycott these things and to voice out their concerns. There are a lot of people who are having a difficult time now, like shops within the beauty community, who have to increase the prices of imported goods because the peso is waning, as in like it's really weak right now. So credit card transactions, I think, are priced at 57 pesos to $1, which before it was at around 40 pesos. So you have less to purchase even within the makeup industry, and that's because of the inflation. There are a lot of us right now who aren't speaking out yet because we don't feel like we're being affected, and we don't even have to go all out yet. We can take small steps towards being helpful for these advocacies. Would you suggest any like baby steps that people can take towards helping out or being a leader for an advocacy that they want to be in?
I guess I'd want to start to emphasize Rod's very important point with purchasing power and how it affects the way things are being done in the world we live in. It's much less about your decision to not purchase something over another, but really to be able to voice that out for those who cannot speak for themselves. That's really, I guess, the main exercise of leadership there, the fact that you are lending a voice to someone who might need it, and that may be a simple sacrifice for you, but to them, the more people decide to push a particular organization or company to do something else rather than what they're currently doing, which is wrong, then you're actually making that small change. So speaking of small changes that you can do to help, it can be so little. So the best examples I have are simply choosing the kinds of app extensions or even web browsers that you use. So I'll start with that. Since that's what I do, that I think will be very easy for everyone since we're on YouTube now.
Yay!
So the first one is using the web browser Ecosia. Every search that you do, they plant a tree. So that's well incorporated within their business model.
Wow.
And then second, the app extension Tab for a Cause. So Tab for a Cause is an app extension in your browser. So what happens is that every time you open a new tab, it will show some ads at the bottom, which you really don't mind because you just type the site you're going to in the middle. And what happens is that for every tab you open, you get a heart, which you can choose to donate to the charities they're supporting. And at the end of every quarter, based on the number of hearts, they'll be donating a particular amount of dollars relative to the amount of hearts that the charity gets.
So those are two that you can already do, and that's really easy because it's just on your browser right now. We're not even sponsored by both of them. This is just something that we feel like is a really good change, and it's a really small change right now. And yeah, apart from that, I guess it's finding alternatives. There are a lot of posts right now that already show us the alternatives for NutriAsia products. For Jollibee, there's always McDonald's, other fast food chains. And it might be difficult at first because of course these are products that we're used to. But again, as Jethro said, it's a small sacrifice we can make for people who feel like they don't have a voice, and this is our way of helping them. And if you can, I mean, it's also a small step try to talk to people who are part of these communities that need help. If you know somebody within your community who is a contractual worker, maybe ask them what they feel like they need and how you can help. What we want here is to help people with their goals.
I think what has happened recently since the new administration came in is that there has been a lot of executive orders and department orders from the government which do reflect ending contractualization in one way or another, but they've been unsuccessful because really more than anything, the laws are there already. It's about the government being sincere with the drive to really end these kinds of things.
So I guess it's another step. If you know anybody within the government that can help push this, these EOs, if it were enforced better, I think places like Jollibee would already be regularized. They're on the list. They're the first on the list because JFC is the biggest amount of contractual workers in the Philippines right now. So if you know anybody from the government, tell them to enforce their laws because that will greatly help people already.
I think it's also important that we have the perspective that, so say when we talk about boycotting JFC and NutriAsia, we think like these are very uncommon things. When we talk to people, the more we recognize that it's something that's in a way very pervasive. Just this morning, since we know that in the later video we'll be buying makeup, and so we took an elevator. So the simple story, we took an elevator up to the entrance, and the janitor there, he was wearing white, he was holding a carton and he was fanning himself, yeah, because it was very hot. And before I talked to those people doing that in the same mall in UP Town Center, and I was told they do that for 12 hours, standing up, and they're not allowed to leave because they're the ones clicking the buttons for the elevator. Yeah. And the least you could do is care about what they're experiencing and making sure that they live much better lives than having to spend their days like that.
In the end, what would the company lose if they regularize their employees? It's just money that they already have. And that's money that they can already spend, but they don't because they want better profits. Why are we still in the phase where we're abusing so many people and in the end they can't feed their own family or even themselves, and they have to work longer hours, like 12 hours, just so that they can do it? And it creates a lot of harms for them too, because how do they sustain themselves within these 12 hours if they can't eat? What do they do? If something happens to them, if they get sick also, that's another thing. I know there's a lot of problems that we talked about and it might be a little serious or gloomy, but there is something that we can do, and that's what we want to share. That amidst all of this chaos that's happening, amidst all of the abuses, we can do something about it as consumers, as people who buy products. Again, it's checking our privilege, knowing that we have the choice to use alternative products to these are alternative restaurants. So let's use our purchasing power as consumers towards helping other people, because this is one of the ways that we can. It might seem indirect, but it will have a huge impact if a lot of us do it. Are there other ways that they can help if, for example, somebody wants to be a bigger help, like if they want to volunteer to do something, or are there any, let's say, rallies in the near future that people can go to?
To find out more, you can follow our Facebook page. Also, very small things that you can do. So apart from cash donations, a very big thing about our age, we're all the same age. We also sell stickers just so we could support them, and the profits goes directly straight to them. So stuff like that are things you can support in already. So guys, apart from being a political organization, it's also a leadership organization. And my philosophy personally as a leader is that it's three things: deliberate, conscious, and pervasive. Meaning that whatever we do as leaders transcends whenever we do public speaking or whenever we're within our organization. So choosing what we purchase and not purchase is an exercise of our leadership, an exercise of an agency to help someone else. Right? It's deliberate because it has to be made, it has to be conscious. You need to be thinking every single time whether or not we're doing the right thing, and that in itself is leadership, because people necessarily around us follow us or imitate us one way or another. And when we think about the things we do better before we do them and who they affect, then we do exercise leadership again.
Yay, thank you so much. I hope you guys learned something new. If you have any questions or maybe even like reactions to this, you might not agree with whatever we said, you can comment down below. We'd love to respond to you. Jethro would also. Please like this also. Subscribe to this channel. It's right here. Don't leave without subscribing. It's right here. I'm gonna wait. Subscribe? Yeah? Okay. Don't forget to also hit the notification bell. It's right next to it. To make sure that you're updated every time I release a new video. And I will try my best to do 2 videos a week because every guest I will have, we will do 2 videos. One that's more makeup related, just like what we did with Jethro. So the next video after this would be him buying the makeup, 1,000 pesos worth of makeup, except for the base. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, you see the finished look, so it looks pretty good. And then the next video, the previous video to that would be the Let's Talk, or what we wanted to talk about when it comes to the person's advocacy. So, thank you again, Jethro, for being here.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you for watching. I hope you all have a happy, healthy, and safe week. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!